What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Barbells and Trails podcast. I am your host, Brett, back with episode 42. We're here. So, last week, interesting podcast, ran a little long, so long that my storage was full at this point on my phone. That's why the last handful of minutes has no video when it comes to me and Riley recording. I actually had a lot of fun recording that podcast with him. It was actually a great time. But big news for this week. Today, actually, as of recording this video, I surpassed 50 views on this channel. We are slowly but surely climbing the ladder, as you would think. And so I do want to thank you guys for getting us this far. I think one of the main things that's really having an impact on it right now is I started posting shorts. I did have the shorts channel. I didn't really post on it. And with how they've changed some stuff on YouTube, I don't think it was necessarily going to cause a problem. I thought it was actually going to benefit my main channel if I started posting them on there. So you know what? I decided I'm going to start doing it. I'm trying to get back on things. I'm trying to be more consistent and actually get stuff out there for you guys. So I've been posting shorts videos now for the past 5 days. And I know that's not very long, but I mean it's consistent. I have some in the works and we're still rolling, you know what I mean? And they've done pretty well. I'm actually very pleased. I think within the past, since I've posted the shorts, I've probably gotten about 3,500 views on the channel, which is really, really, really good. For me, obviously, shorts views a little different than long form views on watching this podcast. But I've also gained 5 or 6 subscribers, almost a subscriber a day, which doesn't seem like a lot, but considering that's not what I was getting, I will take it. And so I'm glad that's starting to build. So I do appreciate you guys. I'm going to keep posting on there. My goal is to keep posting. I was actually listening to Colin and Samir earlier today, and I haven't finished their podcast, but they were actually talking with people that worked at YouTube about the effects of shorts and what's going to happen, because I think within the next month, right now, shorts are, I think, now monetizable. So people are actually going to start making money off of shorts. And so it's pretty interesting to see that it's changed a lot to actually possibly help promote and grow the demographics for creators. I see the potential in this helping the podcast grow. So I'm kind of excited to see what happens if I keep doing this over the next 30 days, what the impact would be, but let alone if I keep doing it continuously. And because posting some shorts don't necessarily take a lot of time, I'm not necessarily doing a bunch of editing to them. Most of them are just interesting snippets from the podcast I'm trying to post. I might end up posting more than one a day eventually. So we'll kind of see how that goes and how that affects the channel. I'm excited. I think I have the possibility of hitting 100 subscribers by the first year of this podcast, and I would be pleased with that. So since I'm on the topic, please go ahead and subscribe. If you guys have been enjoying the content and want to see this podcast grow and be part of a community, please consider hitting the subscribe button. I want to have more people on. I want to talk about more things. I feel like this podcast, there's a few things I'm going to talk about here in a bit that'll be a little more controversial, but it's stuff that I want to mention and talk about. But I just want this podcast to be kind of an outlet for myself. I enjoy doing this. This is fun. It does add more time in my week on the amount of shit I got to do that I don't necessarily have to, but I choose to. It's kind of fun to do, and I find it interesting, and it keeps me working forward in life when it comes to trying to take in information to an extent. I'm actually reading a book that I wanted to have done by this podcast, but my weekend got a little cut short by certain events, and I'll get to that in a minute. But the book I'm reading is Ryan Holiday's An Obstacle in the Way. So I will specifically talk about that in next week's episode once I have that finished. But there's just certain things I love to do with this podcast when it comes to like watching documentaries, watching shows, listening to podcasts, listening to audiobooks, reading books, whatever, that I try to bring some information that I find interesting and I feel like helps me to you guys. So if you guys do enjoy that, please do consider subscribing. It is very, very much appreciated. Hopefully you guys are enjoying the shorts and those can just keep growing over time, and we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, no, I appreciate everybody's help, and I can't wait. I didn't realize I still have like roughly 80 days, almost 3 months until I hit my first year mark with this podcast. I thought it was a lot sooner, honestly, for some reason. So I'm actually kind of impressed by what we've been able to accomplish over this past year. So thank you all for that. And I've really enjoyed this, considering the first, I don't know how many episodes. I had no video and no nothing. The audio was kind of I didn't have a studio. I was just sitting at my desk. I was just whatever. And I'm just glad that this is kind of become something for me. I do enjoy it, so it's fun to do. But as for my weekend, I'm gonna let me explain to you guys. I'll be honest, I'm going to keep posting as best as I can when it comes to the shorts and the clips and the podcast. But with certain things, I am putting the podcast on the back burner for at least the next couple weeks. And here's why. I'm actually trying to finish my realtor license. I think I have mentioned this in the past. I had actually put that on a back burner for a while when I started doing the podcast more and had video, and it actually took me more time to do certain things with it. So it actually got tossed to the side for a long time. I'm trying to finish it now. Last week I was able to study and log about 12 plus hours. This week my plan is to do like 40. I'm trying to get this done because I actually have a chance to sign with someone at a brokerage that I know and talk to. So I'm really excited about that. And my goal was to get this finished by the end of February. I'm really looking forward to it. I find real estate fascinating. It's something I feel like that I would love to get into, and I can't wait to hopefully eventually and actually be able to talk about it on here a little bit. Just the real estate industry in general. But so that's happening. I'm doing a lot of studying. I'm doing a lot of shit, and it's taken up a lot of time. Actually, once I'm off of here tonight, I'm actually gonna go study for like another hour and a half before I go to bed, and all this. But I'm rolling. So I just want to let you guys know, like, episode is gonna be a little shorter. There's other books I would love to read and talk about in the podcast, but the amount of time it takes to try reading those books, and also having time to try studying as much as I need to, it is kind of hard. So I just wanted to let you guys know and put that out there that there's things I do want to do with this podcast. So I don't know what all is going to happen in the next few weeks. I might just try getting someone on maybe next week, just to make it a little more interesting for you guys, where I don't have to do as much work behind the scenes when it comes to preparing for it, but it's interesting enough for you guys. But I hope you guys enjoyed last week's episode. I got a new guest after a long time. I've been meaning to get him on for a long time. As I said in last week's episode, he was actually meant to possibly be my co-host there for a while, but he's a senior still, so he has a lot going on. He's been very, very busy with sports and school and work and a lot of stuff, and so I realized doing something like this isn't something he necessarily has time for right now. But I've been meaning to mention this. I will pull up, my phone's right here. You are my phone. I will pull up screenshots from my Scale app. I did January, went full carnivore. I like I told you guys, I was eating a little bit of fruit. I didn't eat a whole lot. Probably should have ate more than I did just for some fiber and some other stuff. I'll be honest, it was the whole experience was rough on my asshole. Uh, it was like an oil slick. But overall, it was a pretty good experience for me. I didn't find it super challenging because I already eat typically a high protein, high fat diet and a fairly low carb. I don't try going super crazy on the carbs to begin with. So, that part wasn't necessarily a big deal because a majority of the shit I was getting that from was probably meats, or animal products in some form, between that or dairy. And so it wasn't necessarily a big deal for me on transitioning. There were certain things because it didn't allow me to snack because there was no snack foods for a carnivore diet. So there was no snacking, there was no whatever. But within that time period, from January 1st to the 1st of February, I lost 15.6 pounds, I believe. And some of that was water weight. Some of that was just bloating and stuff from like New Year's Eve itself and eating stuff, literally a lot of stuff the day before. So that's not just all weight by any means. And I know that. But I was able to drop 15.6 pounds in 30 days. And that was without counting calories at all. So there was definitely days I probably overdid it on what I ate, and I wasn't going to the gym either that month. I went to the gym like 3 times last month, I'll be honest, 3 days. And I was still able to lose that much weight. So I was actually very shocked. I think this is probably going to be something I incorporate every January because I find it a good refresher, I think. I think it's nice. That's the first time I've ever done like a fad diet in consideration. I've never done any certain diets or certain things to that extent where it's just like, this is what I'm doing for 30 days. I said no to a lot of shit and I stuck to it and that was it. And so it was really nice to kind of do that in a disciplined sense. It was also nice to kind of reset the body after the grueling month of December with all the sugar and bullshit and pie and desserts and food and whatever else. It was kind of nice to reset a little bit and try to get my body a little bit back on track. So that was nice. It was really cool. I encourage someone to try it eventually if they're interested, because it was an interesting experience to do for a short amount of time. I don't think I could ever go that strict continuously, but for a month I could do it. But speaking of the exercising, I'm trying to get back into that. I went to the gym this morning. Sadly, I lost a lot of my discipline. I really don't know where it went for a while. And so I'm trying to get it back out of me because I know it's there. And I just want to be honest with you guys because I want to try being an encouragement for some people. I mean, I've never actually showed pictures of me back in the day. I might do that now. I'll show you guys some pictures from when I graduated high school. I've always had a major baby face. I matured very late when it come to puberty and high school. I was always overweight, and I basically gained weight when my parents got divorced, and it was just kind of progressive. And I had like moments where I lost a little weight, and I gained it back. Moments I lost a little weight, and I gained it back, but nothing really crazy. Like this is the skinniest I have ever been in my entire life, and I'm not even that skinny. So it's something that I've been working on for the past 4 years in particular, and I was doing really well, and I'm trying to get back into it. But I find it challenging, and I'm just trying to get back into it. I'm just trying to be honest with you guys because I want you to understand what I'm going through, because I want to try to encourage or inspire or bring something, because I kind of love like motivational books to an extent, not necessarily, but like I think personal development is very important, especially in your 20s, to try taking in as much perspective and information as possible and try to develop and learn and learn who you are and your identity and become the person you're going to be basically the rest of your life, I feel like, in your 20s, and really kind of figure yourself out. And that's kind of my goal. I mean, especially like not necessarily the first year out of high school, but the last like 2 years of my life, maybe 3, I've changed tremendously. And the way I look at life, my attitude, just my mental health, my physical health, everything. And I think a decent portion of it did have to do with working out, which I've put on the back burner the past 2 months. And I'm trying to get back into that. I realized I literally sat there this weekend after studying and doing stuff, and I was like, you know what? Like, I can't stop making, I need to stop making excuses. I just need to go. I mean, I wish Noah would send me pictures, but this motherfucker, like, he's someone that's so disciplined because he's done this for years. Like, in comparison to him, this dude has been working out for like fucking 12 years already, and he's my age. And he literally posted a picture on his private Snapchat like two weeks ago, where this dude had a picture of him at 155 and now 180. And I knew him at the 180 point when he went back, but when he first moved out to Oregon for college. He ended up doing cross country and running, lost 30 pounds of muscle, still super fucking lean, and then now he's gained it all back in muscle, and he's a big motherfucker. And that dude's dedicated as bitch, and he works really hard, and he knows to put in the work. And so I realized that there's stuff I want to do in that instance for myself, where I realize there's certain things that when I do it, I do feel better, especially afterwards, where I don't necessarily like it. And I watched a lot, I listened, like you guys know, I listen to Rogan, and I was watching some like motivational clips I've seen on Instagram and certain things, and how he even talks about how he's like, there's not a lot of days I'm necessarily super motivated to go to the gym or to do the shit I do, or get in the sauna or get in the ice bath or do all this shit. But he's like, I know in the long run, this is what keeps me sane, and it makes me feel better, and it makes me a better person. And I kind of sat there and I thought about it, and I was like, that's very true. And I realized that that's the same for myself. Like this morning I got in the cold shower and was in there for like 3.5 minutes, and I didn't want to. I wanted to quit a lot sooner, but I was just like, no, I'm here. Whenever my fucking timer goes off, I'll get out. Eventually I do want to get like a tub outside so I can do shit. Obviously right now it's kind of winter, so it's perfect. In the summer I might have to ice shit, but it's not fun, but it's not very long, and it's super good for you, both the ice bath and workouts. And it's so good mentally to let a lot of shit out and to make yourself do that stuff. And I realized that discipline is what's important. It's not necessarily discipline and mindset's what's important. Like the working out and stuff's very important, but it's actually making yourself do it. That's the challenge, and just doing it because. And that's something I'm trying to get back into, and I know I do need that in my life, because I kind of need that structure. And when I do that kind of stuff, especially at the beginning of the day, I know my days go better, and I'm more productive, and I get shit done, and I sleep better, and I feel better, and I'm mentally clearer, and all this other stuff that I know I just got to force myself to do it. And I'm trying to get back into that. So I encourage anybody to do the same if you're not already, because I know it's not fun, but when you force yourself to do shit you don't want to do, you feel so much better by the end of it. You really do. But it's a process. I mean, I've gained weight back, I've lost weight, and it's been a work in progress for me. And I think this year I'm like, you know what? I really do need to work on leaning down. I want to be leaner. I really don't care if I lose lifting ability and shit. You know what? Like, I've been thinking about it. I'm like, I really want to cut more. Like, I'm proud of where I am. I am, but I know that I could probably lose another 10, 15 pounds or more. And I'm like, you know what? I kind of want to. I've never got to that point. So it's also kind of exciting to see what I could do. So I'm excited to do that. And I hope you guys, are willing to go along this journey with me. We'll see what we can do, and I'll keep you guys updated, especially in the months to come. But okay, so what did I do this week? So obviously I told you I'm putting this on the back burner a little bit, and I've been studying a lot. I did not get to study as much as I wanted to this weekend. I actually took Friday off and I studied. My buddy came over, Freddie. Hopefully I might have him on next week if I can convince him. We'll see what I can do. And we went to a bakery. And yes, that's the thing. I got off this diet. I've ate like shit. So today I fasted. I ate once. I ate when I got home, and that's it. And well, when we went to his wife's bakery, and we got a lot of cakes. And they're like little mini cakes, and I ate like 4 of them in 2 days. And I made Kodiak protein balls, and I ate like a whole tray of those in like 24 hours. And I've had cookies, I've had brownies, I went to Mexican, I had Chinese food the other day. I've had all this extra shit. I'm like, it felt like it's been a lot longer. I've been eating like crap, but in all reality, it's been like not even 5 days. I'm like, okay, well, either way, I need to like stop and still do decent. So I'm back on that track. And so we left and we went to Five Guys, and we come back. And then guess what? We're like, you know what? What do we want to do? Let's play some Xbox. Holy shit. We pulled out some split screen games. We were going to play Black Ops, but because of my stupidity in the past, I fucked that because I accidentally threw out my old Xbox 360 and forgot I didn't have a disc reading Xbox. So we played some split screen games back in the day shit. And he ended up being here till like 11. I still wanted to study that night. And but he was here till like 11. I was like, well, shit, whatever. Like, it is what it is. And I just went to bed and went from there. And then Saturday, I couldn't get my head into the study game. I studied for like 2 hours Saturday. I did a few things around the house. I couldn't help myself, and I played some Xbox because he like unlocked something in me because I hadn't played video games in like 3 weeks recently. And I was like, ooh, I want some video games. And I played. And then we ended up going to Monster Jam Rally. I have not been to Monster Jam in at least 10 years. Yeah, definitely more than 10 years, I feel like. But something I used to watch back in the day. So I took Freddie and I took my cousin, both of whom never been there. I actually had tickets to a suite, so that was actually really fucking cool. And holy shit, the whole situation ended up being how many hours of my life? From 5 to basically 1 in the morning, Sunday. So it was very interesting because we got caught in traffic going to Indy, heading to Lucas Oil. We went to the wrong gate trying to get into the event, and then we finally get in there and we relax and there's drinks. And I was like, holy fuck, I needed this an hour ago. And so had a couple drinks and we're chilling and we're watching the events and I'm explaining shit to them. And like, yeah, you know, like Gravedigger and monster trucks and shit. And they try like breaking shit and doing flips and all this cool shit and jumping 40 feet and whatnot and whatever, trying to explain it to them because they have no idea what's going on. And then we finally leave. And the only way we can get out, if anybody here that's listening is from Indiana, is hopping on 70. Not realizing, never pulling up a map. I'm just rolling with it because I know I'm on the highway. I'm not lost. I eventually thought I was like, maybe I just turn north and we say fuck it and just go through the city. Probably honestly should have done that. That would have helped us. Got down to 465 and it realized we were down at the airport. So we were on the whole fucking other southern west side of the city that we needed to be on. We needed to be north. And we're on our way up 465. We're like craving ice cream. What do? Let's go to Freddy's Custards. Whip in there. They're out of fucking vanilla. And they were closing in like 20 minutes. So we got our shit. We left. And we went back the way we got off the highway. And then we turn. And I'm driving. And guess what? There's not a fucking on-ramp to get on 465. So I keep driving. And I'm like, well, now what the fuck do we do? And then we come across a bridge. And we're surrounded by water. And we're like, where the fuck are we? We're in Indiana. Water doesn't exist here. It's cornfields. And that's it. So what the fuck is going on? And we're only like half a mile to a mile from the highway. Why the fuck is there a lake? Where are we? And it being dark didn't help. We'd never pulled out maps. And then we were sitting there and we're like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's try getting back without a map. Great idea, right? It could have been worse. But either way, we work our way up. We're zigzagging north as far as we are aware. there's certain landmarks so we can see from a distance, so we know we're on the right path. And we get up to Carmel and we see signs. And we're like, we're fucking on our way, and we're almost there. If we just keep heading in that direction, we're good. And I'm thinking about suing Apple because of this shit. Because we end up in Carmel, and there's roundabouts everywhere, and we get kind of twisted and finagled. And I'm like, ooh, man, I need to make sure we're heading in the right direction. This isn't cheating. Freddie, pull out your fucking compass app on your iPhone, please, and figure out which way is north, because my car is broken and it won't tell me. And so he did. And he pulls out his phone, and he says that we're going northwest. And I'm like, why the fuck are we going northwest? That's the wrong direction we need to be going. We need to be going northeast. So we adjust, and we're driving, and I'm like, okay, cool. We're going northeast now. Perfect. Like, this is the direction we need to go. And we're kind of weaving through, and we're going through neighborhoods and working our way around and all this shit. And at one point I look at the roads, and so from Indy north, the road numbers get larger. And at one point I knew we were on 116th Street. And then eventually we're driving, and I see another road sign. And the street sign says 86th Street. And I'm like, how the fuck are we like 3 miles south? Where the fuck are we? And we keep driving. And at one point we get all the way down to 56th Street. And I'm like, guys, I'm sorry, but I don't know what the fuck's going on. Your compass sucks ass because we're heading towards Indy. Something is wrong. So I decide, let's pull a lifeline and call my sister. I have a shared location. She can send us in the right direction at least. And I do that. I go ahead and make a left because I'm like, fuck it, let's get off this road. Obviously, we must be going south. And my sister, terrible with maps. I'm like, hey, what direction do we need to go to get home? She can't fucking figure it out somehow. I really don't know. It's like, we live here. We are here. What direction do we need to go? Which way is our little dot moving across the screen? And get us in the right direction, please. And in the time before she figured out what the fuck that meant and how to help us, we drove about 3 blocks to Keystone, and I realized exactly where we are. I was like, well, if I just fucking take a left here, we go straight north, and I know exactly how to get home. And so that's what we did. I was like, we've had enough bullshit direction in our head where we've fucking worked our way back to Indy. I don't care about taking main roads no more. We're just gonna roll with it. I want to get back. It's late. And I hung up on my sister, and Freddie literally was saying it on the phone and was like, hey, don't ever call your sister if you're lost and you need to figure out where the fuck to go, because she doesn't know what she's doing. And I was like, definitely. And so we end up driving, and by the time we end up getting back, it's like 1. But he had Life 360 on his phone for some reason. He's 26. And and we end up looking, and he looked at our route, and we straight up just fucking went up and north and got to Carmel, and then without even realizing it, curved around and was heading almost straight south. To us, it did not seem straight south because of the roads we were on, and we haven't been in those areas, and it was nighttime. But yeah, we basically headed straight south and just backtracked all the progress we made and felt like complete idiots. So it was an interesting time. So at that point, Sunday, there was a lot of shit I needed to get done, and I got up at like 9, and I got some shit done. I was supposed to record this then. It is Monday right now, and it just didn't work out. I was groggy the whole day and all this shit, and I'm just like, fuck. And that's the thing. One of the next books I want to read is the one I'm finishing, but then I want to read Why We Sleep, because I want that information, and I want to inform all the youngsters out there that don't think sleep's important. And when I say youngsters, I mean people my age, and because I know it is very, 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 very important to health. I've heard the guy talk before, and I want to read his book to actually get all the information. But so it's been an interesting whole scenario and weekend, but here we are now, right? But speaking of YouTube, I wanted to bring up the Clips channel with you guys. So the Clips channel has been posting pretty regularly. At this point, it's posting 4 videos a week. I think I probably should have brought it back before that. I think I'm going to do 3 videos a week right now. It's doing really well. It's surpassed 1,000 views already. And if I would have been posting continuously the past month and a half, it would have been doing even better and had a lot more views. But I've been posting pretty well. My average view at this point per video is like 95, so that's not bad, and some of them are still going. I want it where every video of mine on there is at least getting 100 views. It's doing decent. The channel's not necessarily growing in subscribers. We're at like 17. So if you guys really do want to go see that, and sometimes you don't always want to watch these full length videos, go subscribe to the fucking Barbells and Trails Clips channel. It will be in the link in the description. It's also on the main channel page when it comes to subscriptions if you just scroll through the channel. And go check that out. And there's more edited, clipped down versions of certain things from the podcast that's more entertaining or interesting and whatnot. So it's doing really well when it comes to views and the amount of shit it's doing. And so I posted a video last week titled, I love the U.S. military. I know in certain instances that's controversial statement. Whatever. But it was about stuff with Ukraine, and this was from a clip from an old podcast, and you might have listened to it, you might not have. I really don't give a shit. But I had a kid post, and the dude was, or a comment, and he might have been around my age, and I wanted to go over this because this was an interesting topic, and it made me think about shit. And I talked to some other people about it, and I was like, it's really rough out here. But I'm just gonna go ahead and read this guy's comment, Caden Powlock. It says, I just enlisted in the National Guard 2 months ago. I felt weary about it because of some of the recent decisions that have been highly debated on recently in the news and stuff. I'm excited about my journey through the military and hope that the problems people say are happening clear up, and I have a feeling it can only get better from here. What has been happening lately, though, is that everywhere I look, everyone seems to hate America. Everyone on social media and IRL too seem to hate this beautiful country and everything it does. People nowadays seem to have no idea how nice they have it, and it's depressing and crushing to see that there is no such thing as being patriotic anymore. I hope the best for this country and everyone in it, but sometimes I feel like we have changed for the worst permanently and can't go back to the strong nation we used to be. Please, someone tell me I'm wrong. As you can see, I commented, and that's part of the topic of discussion I wanted to mention. But since I'm here, real quick, let me see if I can actually show you guys the analytics a little bit. So right here, we got the views, we got the hours, we got the subs. We're doing decent. Videos are doing decent. I'm getting decent viewers for my portion of things. And so if you guys do want to go check that out, please do. Real quick, I'll even show you guys the main podcast just so you guys are seeing what the shorts are up to. And I'm glad it is growing, but I'll show you this real quick just because I have it pulled up. Total views now, I'm almost at 7,000. So in general, so that's really good. Like those are the views I'm at right now. In the past 28 days, 2.7. I had one spike today. My live views are last 48 hours was like 1,600. That's really good. My shorts are definitely my most viewed shit at this point, but still, I kind of expected that, and I'll take that. And we're at 51 subscribers. So if you guys do want to go subscribe, please do so. And it's much appreciated, probably more than you realize. But on the topic of that comment in particular, I completely understand what this guy's saying. I have a feeling he's similar to my age. If he's actually, he's probably younger than me, considering he might be signing up for the National Guard. But in many ways, I hate Gen Z. I really do. I am a part of Gen Z. I'm one of the earlier renditions of Gen Z. I actually feel like I have a closer relationship to millennials than I do people in my generation. Technically, my younger cousins are the same generation as me, and one of my cousins is 11 years younger than me. And I mean, technically, yes, that's how generations work. But there is a big difference between me and him. I was born before the iPhone was created and the iPod. And that I think has a major impact. Like, I was there as social media was still growing and developing. I was young when this was happening. I was young as the internet was like really, really growing as what it is today. But I 100% agree with some of the things this guy says. I've talked to you guys about this a little bit. I'm not going on a political bias. I don't care. I've told you guys I'm a moderate. I'm a centrist. I'm in the middle of a lot of things. I see shit on both sides that I can 100% agree with or disagree with, depending on the topic. I think most people should try having a more open-minded point of view when it comes to politics and certain things. But I think because of how I was raised and where I was raised, I do look at things differently. And because of the relationships I have. Growing in a mainly Republican area, growing up in the country, not in a major city, there's a lot of things I see that probably a lot of kids in my generation, especially the ones that are on Instagram and on Twitter and on TikTok and all this bullshit that do say stuff about America and badmouth us and do certain things, don't see because they just grow up in the city, and so they see the fucked up things. And it's sad. I'm not saying that this country doesn't have issues. That's not what I'm saying at all. There's shit that needs fixed. I can't deny that there's problems here. Who the fuck couldn't? Or who could? Yeah, there's issues. I'm not saying it's perfect. I don't think anybody is, but there's just an outright hate for the country you live in. And that's the thing I realized that with most people, like roughly my generation, even in the millennials and probably the kids that are going to be younger than me, sadly, they feel a lot more entitled. I can't say in certain instances, yeah, I don't think the same. It is what it is. I'll be honest. I can't say I don't complain about shit because I do, because who doesn't? Like, no one can say they don't, especially nowadays, and especially someone my age. But I don't do it publicly. I don't go online and try to raffle other people's feathers and cause all this extra bullshit and this negativity and all this shit. I'm a pretty optimistic person, and I even put it in that guy's comment when I responded to him. I was hoping he was going to message me back, but he sadly hasn't. And I was like, you know what? I try to look at things optimistically. Obviously, this country's never going to go back to the way it was because that's just not how things work. Like, things are changing, I think, in certain instances, certain situations for the better, and I think that things can get better from here. It's just there's growing pains with a lot of shit, and I think that has to do with a lot of stuff nowadays. But when it comes to not being patriotic in certain stuff, I've always had such respect for veterans in the military and shit like that because my family was in the military. My great uncle died on D-Day. He's buried in Paris. I've always had a relationship with the military and veterans in a different way. Like, I remember being a young kid, and basically any veteran I saw, I would go up and shake their hand and say thank you for your service. And that was like the one thing. And I was a socially awkward kid for a long time. I told you guys that. But that was the one thing, no matter what I tried doing, if I saw someone wearing a veteran's hat, like Navy or Vietnam or whatever, I shook their hands. I said thank you. And I've met a handful of World War II vets, which is not normal because most of them have died. But I've probably met 10 at least in my life, going to DC and met a lot of veterans when I was there on a trip. And I've talked to them, and I don't think people realize the sacrifices that have been made for the shit that we have nowadays. And I think that's the thing that really makes me upset, is when I see all these people complaining and saying shit and all this stuff. It's like, you don't realize what people had to go through to build this country to allow you to do what you want. It, like, if it wasn't for the shit that happened, I wouldn't be able to have this podcast. And Steve Jobs wouldn't have been able to fucking make the iPhone that's recording this right now, or the iPhone that people are complaining about their bullshit on Twitter. And between that and the people that have died for this country and the shit that's happened, or the people around the world that are in way worse situations, and listening to Joe Rogan have someone on like 3 weeks ago about fucking cobalt mining and how it's still by hand and it's all in the Congo and people are getting paid dollars a day and getting sick and poisoned from mining cobalt just to be in this iPhone and every other battery around the world. And it's in the lower levels of poverty that go up to the highest levels of wealth. And it's a fucked industry, and people want to complain that their life sucks. I can't say I haven't said the same, but I don't say it publicly, and it's a very situational thing when I say that. I know in all reality that I'm grateful for everything I have and to be in such an amazing country that allows me to do what I can and have the ability to grow and adapt and learn and do what I want and not necessarily fall in line scraping together pennies to survive every day. And I think that's something that people nowadays, especially in my generation and younger, don't understand the shit they have. And that if it wasn't for all these men, and if it wasn't for all this extra bullshit and all these people in other countries that are dealing and living these terrible lives to basically allow you to do what you want and allow you to complain about all the bullshit on your iPhone just to make your iPhone. So you got to look at the outside perspective on what things are. Like I said, yeah, the United States has issues. We have our problems. We get a lot of fucking hate from around the world. But in all reality, we are the best example of what freedom really is. And it's not perfect. This is an experiment that's been going on for 350 years. Like this is a growing experiment of democracy. This hasn't been done before. So no shit, there's problems. And there's always corruption, and there's always been all this bullshit in every society ever. So you can't expect it not to be here. And I think people just need to realize that they need to just have a more positive fucking mindset. I hate seeing all the negative bullshit. There's a reason I don't watch the news half the time. And people just got to be grateful for what they have and realize how much better they have it than almost every other generation ever. And even generations that are living around the world today. And that's the thing that pisses me off the most when I see certain things and how privileged and entitled and certain things people act. Like, I try to be pretty humble because I know what people have had to do to work for things in the past. And it's just a fact. I know I'm not perfect. No one is. But at the same time, you can't just hate on the place that you grow up in and you have the safety and ability to do whatever the fuck you want. And you want to complain about the politics and the military and the things that had to be done and whatever it was. It was like 4 months ago, and there's a video of these SEALs or was it the Army where they were getting the tear gas or some shit, and someone recorded it, and people were complaining online and was saying, "Oh, we can't do that. That's like cruel, and you can't do that to our soldiers. You can't test them." And it's like, what? You rather have them not know what the fuck this gas does to you, and you just want them to go out in the field, and then if something happens, they don't know how to handle themselves. You want them to die in action because of inadequate training. This is what fucking makes people tough and survive. This is why we have one of the better militaries, and people want to complain because can be mean and we yell at soldiers. Like, their job is to protect the nation. People back in the day, let's say Greece in particular, boys were taken at 5 years old and beaten and trained for 12 years. That's nothing compared to the shit we do now. So don't complain. Like, things have been worse. Things have only gotten better progressively across human history. So when people complain nowadays, it's kind of hard to necessarily agree. I think the thing that makes everything seem worse is because of social media and the internet. It allows things to be more public, and you can see the fucked up shit around the world, and you can see the terrible atrocities that happen, and you can see the hate, you can see the killings, you can see the violence, you can see all this shit. And in many circumstances, even 50 years ago, you would have had no idea most of the shit was happening. Possibly in the next state are possibly on the other side of the world, where now all of this is visible because of the internet and social media, so it looks like the world is terrible and falling apart. The world's not necessarily terrible. It's always been this way, and it's just gotten better. And sadly, we live in some of the best times. And I can't say sadly because it's a great thing that we live in some of the best times. But at the same time, for some people, they don't have the same situations as we do. So it's like, don't complain and take full advantage of the country you're in now. There's so many people that wish they were in your shoes, and you don't take full advantage of it and want to complain about the scenario you're in. Just focus on yourself. Be more positive. Try bringing joy into this world, and don't be so petty. I know this was kind of a rough ender for the podcast, but it's something I wanted to talk about for sure, and I've thought about, and especially with that guy's comment and just seeing the shit I do see on social media. I don't totally know why I look at things differently. I don't know if it's family, if it's environment, or what, but I'm glad I look at things the way I do, and I'm glad I'm not a part of the majority with a lot of that shit, especially for someone my age. And it is what it is. But I hope you guys took something from this podcast and are here for this journey just of life and everything. And I guess I'll see you guys all next week. But I hope you guys enjoy. Please enjoy the podcast, enjoy the shorts. I hope you guys just enjoy this in general. I know I'm having fun with this, and this is a lot of fun. And I like being able to discuss tough topics. But I think that's it for this week. I'll see you guys all next week. Peace out.